Okay, guys. So this is for our next assignment. Ignore assignment 20 because we skipped an assignment. So we're on assignment 17. And basically, we're still working with line drawing. So I want you to create this line drawing and from a plan view and a side view. Now, it's good to note that this center, these two arms in the center are centralized on these cylinders as well. Okay. And when you create it in 2D, they're all going to be on the same plane. So just keep that in mind when you do your extrusions. Okay. So what I'm going to make first is going to be the two circles. Okay. Just these two. And the reason I chose those to do initially is because you're really only given this linear one width measurement that's going to allow you to build upon it. And that's another reason why I'm having you do this specific one, because it allows you to see that you don't always have to have every single thing with height, depth, because certain components will give you those keys. Okay, so let's start out with this large circle and this center circle. And I've already have them drawn here, but I'll draw them again for you. My computer was being glitchy a second ago, so I'm hoping I can get through this without it being a problem. So the larger of the two has a diameter of 60. So I'm going to make a 30 radius, and then using the center point, which I think I just turned off. No, okay, it's there. Center is going to be 15 because it's asking for radius, okay? And then if you note, what I talked about earlier is this line. I'm going to turn my ortho on so I do a straight line. I'm going to make that to 105, okay? Because that's the distance we just talked about being the most indicative of width. So at 105 is the center point of this circle. So now I'm going to make that circle as well. And so when I make that circle, my other computers went off. I want its center to be, or its radius to be 10. And then I'm going to make another one, right click to reactivate that tool at 21 because it's stating it's 42. Now, my other issue is that I have a notch in this one. So if you look at this diagram, there's a little notch up here. Its width is 8. It's on the center line of this circle. Okay, so I'm going to use offset. Okay, and I'm also going to use a line to recreate this height. So if I come in here, the height of it is 3 higher than the radius of that circle. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, I know this is 15. I'm going to go all the way to 18 because I know it's 3 higher. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this notch over from the center line. And the center line can just go away at this point. And I'm going to make a line. This goes across here, right? And then I'm going to trim out what I don't need, right? So if I select everything, everything becomes a cutting edge and I can just delete it all. Okay, so now I have these two entities. So when I look at this diagram, you have an overarch, okay, and you have this underarch, all right? They do not specify exact placement of these on this diagram. So since they're not aligned with your quadrants, we're going to go in and place them visually and then latch them on, okay? So let's get back here. So my top one is a radius. It gives you as a radius of 115, okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to visually move it into plane with these. Now, as you can see, it's a little bit off, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here to my snaps. I'm going to make sure that my nearest is on, perpendicular and tangent is on, and then I'm going to move this guy. And I'm just really going to move him straight out, okay? So now he is interacting with this space, but maybe not perfect. But so I'm not really given that. I'm going to go with it at this point. Okay, let me make sure this one is still where it needs to be, and it's not. So we'll bring it back down. Okay, so both of these should now be crossing over the circle. Okay, and what you're going to do is you're going to trim that off. So your circle is now your cutting edge. Okay, and you're going to take this bad boy out. Okay, so then when you go back to look at this, okay, it gives you this 8. Okay, so this is another offset. Okay, you don't need to recreate this. It's not giving you the radius for that. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, it is 8. So if I do an offset of 8, I will just click this and bring it down. Okay, so it doesn't quite look right. Okay, but remember that it'll all work out in the end. So here's our initial. So then we need to do the bottom, okay, which is here. And the only one it's giving you is this radius of 60. So we'll go with that. And we're basically going to do the same thing. We're going to make our 60, okay, and we're going to move it visually initially into place. Okay, whoa, I got my ortho on. Don't want that anymore right now. And I'm going to snap it there, and it might not be perfect. So I'm going to move it into place to make me happy. And then just make sure it's still over here. Okay, so I'll do the same thing with this one. And I'm going to trim out, use my circles as my cutting edge, and I'm going to trim this out so that they should. The only issue is since we do, that one's hitting, since we're cutting, if they do cross in, you do need to go back and cut out this little area, and the same down here, and then just make sure you don't have an issue down in this one, which it looks like there might be one. And oh, I didn't make that one a trimming edge, so that makes sense, doesn't it? There is one there, and you don't want that. Okay, it'll junk up your system. So at this point, this is no longer necessary. And again, we have the offset of 8 at the bottom. Okay, 8 should still be active in the offset. Okay, so now this is our entity. Okay, so what next? All right, let's look at it. So we have this, we have these, we have that, and we have the big circle. So at this point, we need to figure out what's going on in here, okay? Because they're not straight lines, they're a fillet. So if you look here, it says 4x R8. Okay, what that means is instead of putting a leader line to each of these different angles, it's telling you that all of them have a radius of 8, okay? So instead of doing a circle, we're going to do a fillet, and our radius is 8. So you should be able to go boom, boom, double, oops, and it should remain active as long as you right click, oh, come on, and do line to circle. Okay. Now, this should all be a single entity on a single plane. Our only issue is that now we have to extrude it. Okay, so we've run into issues extruding before when you lose the boundary. So let us go ahead first and see if press pulling these center arms up to their height, which is 10, is better, or if we should do these first. Okay, and it looks like as long as we do the arms first, it'll be fine. Okay, sometimes it's the other way around, but really, for the most part, the circle should stay intact. So that's what I want to do second. So the height of those is 20. Okay, so we're going to make those 20. Okay, 20. Now, before we're finished, we need to realize that this, oh, don't freeze on me now, is the two arms that you have need to be centered. Now think about it. If the overall height of that arm is 20 here, 20, I mean, not the arm, the cylinder is 20. This height for the arm is 10, and it needs to be centered. What do we need to raise these up at? Okay. My gizmo's not coming on, so that makes me unhappy. But let's see if it's just not on here. Okay, and if your move gizmo is the same thing mine's doing right now, I'm just going to force it and do 3D move instead of just a standard move. And it'll block it out like that. And you'll get a gizmo. So if you haven't realized it yet, we want to move this up. But we want it in the center of your 20. You're already taking 10 of the height, so it needs to be 5 up, okay? So look at it from the side. It should be right on plane, okay? And then I got this weird thing right there. Oh, okay. Because I used a boundary, a portion of my entity is still there. So we're just going to delete those because we don't want them. They don't make things pretty. Okay. All right, that's better. Okay, so let's put it in conceptual so we can see it. Okay, so now here's our entity. Now, we haven't talked about this that much, but these are two different solids. Okay, so if I go and I do a fillet edge on this, okay, if I just do whoops, I said a fillet, that's not going to work. If I do a fillet edge and I do my radius, which it tells me is 2, okay, where is it going to go? It's going to go in. Can you see that? That it's going in? But I don't want that. The reason it's going in is because that's its own entity. So before you start your fillets, you need to select all of these objects to join them because it needs that inside edge. It needs to consider this an inside edge. So now when I do my fillet edge, my radius is 2, okay? I can select this and it forms an outside edge. Now I would just do them all at the same time and you'll have one on each side. What? Sorry, that's going slow for me today. I don't want to use that. There. Okay, I know, exciting. Everything stays visible while you do this because it's giving you the interpretation. Okay. Ugh, it's being a pain. 2 and 8. Okay. If you look at it, you'll see that smooths that out. Okay. Now, right now it's keeping some things highlighted, and you can just, if you reselect it all and then escape, it'll go away for you. Okay. So here's your entity. Okay. So if you have any questions about it, just let me know. You'll have to have the fillets on both sides once you union this, okay? I do expect it to have an 8 distance here and to match all the other measurements on the object. Once this is complete, put it in realistic, okay? And then you'll go up to your visual tab and you will add materials. But don't forget, put it in an environment so the lighting works fine. And I am excited to see your finished products.